Shall we go?
Kia ora koutou katoa. I'm Rob Lindeman from the HIT Lab New Zealand, and I'd like to welcome everybody to this next paper session. The session today is on locomotion. It's great at the conference. We have so much locomotion work going on. We have to have multiple sessions for it. So clearly a very interesting topic and important to the VR community. So that's great. We have 6 papers today, and each paper will be presented for 7 minutes. There is a Discord channel where Q&A will be done, so we won't be taking Q&A in the Zoom session, the Zoom chat, but rather I will, at the very end, read questions from the Discord here, and the authors will then answer the questions. And they might choose to answer them in the Discord itself. So I encourage everybody to put your questions there as they come into your head as we go through the papers. As I said, we have 6 interesting papers today. The first one is by Dooyoung Kim, and he will be talking about the effects of virtual room size and objects on relative translation gain thresholds in redirected walking. So I will hand over to Dooyoung now.
Thank you. So, can you see my presentation? Yes. Hello, everyone. This is Dooyoung Kim, and I'm a PhD student at KAIST UVL Lab. I'm happy to present our work, Effects of Virtual Room Size and Objects on Relative Translation Gain Thresholds in Redirected Walking. This paper investigates how the size of virtual space and objects within it affect the threshold range of relative translation gains. Our results indicate that the effect of relative translation gains can be further increased by constructing a perceived virtual movable space that is even larger than the adjusted virtual movable space and placing objects in it. This study starts from relative translation gains, one of the redirected walking techniques that scales the user's movement in virtual space and different ratios for the width and depths. While previous studies assert that a virtual room size affects relative translation gain threshold on account of the virtual horizon's location, additional research is needed to explore this assumption through a structured approach to visual perception in virtual reality. For these goals, we set our research questions as follows. 1, how do virtual room size and objects affect the threshold range of relative translation gains? And second, how do virtual room size and objects affect the distribution of angles of declination? To achieve our research goals, we decided to use the angles of declination between the user's eye gaze and the forward gaze. The eye gaze refers to the vector from the subject's eye position to the subject's eye gaze point, and the forward gaze refers to the orthogonal projection vector of the eye gaze. We use this AOD to determine the virtual environment size, location of objects, and AOD distribution graph. First of all, we assume that a subject with an eye level of 1.5 meters is located in the center of the virtual space. We set the sizes in which the AOD to be -10, -20, and -30 degrees respectively. To figure out more about the relationship between the AOD and RTG threshold range, we try to transform the AOD distribution by placing furniture. The first furniture clusters, bookshelves, sofa, and boxes were placed at the end of the path to decrease the AOD distribution. And second furniture clusters, TV with speaker and desk with chairs, were placed to form a realistic virtual scene. And by combining these 3 room sizes and 2 object layouts, we generate 6 experimental conditions to estimate RTG thresholds. Additionally, we added 2 without RTG conditions to analyze the effect of RTG on VR simulator sickness. Thus, we could finalize a total of 8 conditions. And we separated participants into 2 groups and opted for a mixed subject method. As we assume the AOD may affect the threshold range, we balanced the average height between the 2 groups and also maintained the gender ratio among the groups, as it also might affect the outcome. And this is the participant's view in the small empty condition. We designed 3 paths for participants to experience various perceived speeds from given RTG conditions. And after they walk along 3 paths, they were asked to answer whether they felt their movements in the virtual environment were faster or slower than their movement in the real environment. And this is the participant's view in the large furnished condition. And you can see the furniture block the participant's gaze to reach to the wall, which has the effect of decreasing AOD distribution. Through a statistical result, we found a significant main effect of size and object. Our hypothesis about size is conditionally accepted. However, as for object, our hypotheses were rejected by showing the opposite difference from the hypothesis we have established. Moreover, we could confirm that RTGs are not a significant factor for increases in VR simulator sickness score. And these figures show the result of feeding the participants' responses to the psychometric function, and the estimated threshold range are shown in the table. The threshold range was highest in the large furnished condition, and the result indicates that when one axis perceived speed is the same as the actual speed, the other axis perceived speed can be increased to 34% faster than the actual speed. Now let's discuss our results about size first. The distribution of AOD in 3 empty spaces supports our statistical results. In this graph, the virtual horizon's noticeable AOD areas are colored. The graph shows that users often look at the virtual horizon and that the distribution of AOD varies depending on the size. Through this, we analyzed that the AOD distribution changed by size affects the threshold range. And next, our results about the effect of objects show that participants were less sensitive to be faster in the furnished condition than in the empty conditions. The presence of objects have 2 effects. One is distracting the user's attention, and the other is decreasing AOD distribution. If the effect of decreasing AOD is more dominant to the threshold range, it should decrease like a small room, but on the contrary, it grew significantly. Based on previous studies suggesting that visual cognitive load and attention influence the sense of affection in VEs, we assert the object's role as a distractor was greater than the effect of reducing AOD. Through this, we depicted 2 main implications. First, the perceived movable space should be made larger than the adjusted movable space to obtain a wider range of RTG threshold in constructing virtual scenes. And second, placing objects in the virtual scene can further increase the range of RTG thresholds. And these implications can be contributed to the generation of realistic and effective virtual spaces for MR remote collaboration. The contribution of our study can be threefold. First, we revisit the effect of VR room size and relative translation gain thresholds with a more constructive approach by utilizing AOD data from eye gaze. Second, we show the presence of objects in virtual space act as distractors and increase the relative translation gain threshold range. Lastly, we provide virtual space constructing implications to maximize the effect of expanding an explorer virtual environment with relative translation gains. This is end of my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dooyoung. Very interesting. So again, please post your questions in the Discord. For those of you who joined the session after we started, questions will be answered and addressed at the end of the session after everyone goes. Please see the Discord channel for this session to place your questions. So the next paper is called Redirected Doors, Redirection while Opening Doors in Virtual Reality. And the presenter is Yukai Hoshikawa. He currently has a cold, so he can't present live, but he will be here to answer questions live. So we'll play his video.
Hello, I'm Yukai Hoshikawa, a master student at Tohoku University. I will present our paper, Redirected Doors, Redirection while Opening Doors in Virtual Reality. This work is also done by Kazuyuki Fujita, Kazuki Takashima, Morten Fjeld, and Yoshifumi Kitamura. One major challenge of room-scale VR is that exploring large virtual environments is limited by the physical boundary. To deal with this, many studies have considered compressing the physical play area required for the experience. One of the promising methodologies is redirection, which manipulates the user's viewpoint in VR. The most common is redirected walking, which constantly manipulates the user's viewpoint while walking. In contrast, another approach is what we call occasional redirection, which manipulates the user's viewpoint occasionally, based on the user's position or specific interaction. Here, we focus on these occasional redirection techniques. Examples of occasional redirection include resetting techniques, which encourage the user to turn when approaching the boundary. These techniques allow the physical play area to be smaller than redirected walking, but they temporarily interrupt the experience. As a more advanced approach, the right one have introduced discrete rotational manipulation during interactions such as throwing, shooting, and so on. This technique achieves redirection without requiring the user to walk. However, this technique is not applicable to a wide range of applications, and these interaction targets require careful design or narrative integrations for each application. Therefore, we focus on opening a door as the interaction to combine with occasional redirection and propose redirected doors. We chose this because a door can be naturally placed in many VR environments, and it also can be placed so as not to be ignored by the user. Here's a video of our technique. The left side shows the user's first-person view in VR, and the right side shows the user in reality. The user is trying to open a door using a physical doorknob. You can see that the user is walking straight in VR. However, the user's orientation changes after opening the door in reality. This technique can be also applied to outdoor environments. The physical doorknob prop is used for providing haptic feedback in this video, but we also implemented an interface using a conventional controller. Next, we explain the algorithm of this technique. The upper side shows the user in VR from the top view, and the lower side shows the user in reality. As you can see in the upper side, the whole virtual environment is rotated at a certain ratio of the door being opened in reality. We call this ratio door rotation gain. In this condition of pushing the door, the user is redirected to the left when the gain is larger than 1, and to the right when the gain is smaller than 1. We conducted a user study with 12 participants to investigate the user's perception with our technique. We asked participants to try our technique with varied conditions of door rotation gain, door opening interface, and door opening direction, and measured their noticeability and acceptability of the redirection with 2 alternative force choice. Here, we introduce some examples of the trials using a controller as a door opening interface. The participant repeatedly performed the task of opening a door and then walking forward for 1 meter. Here is another trial under pulling door opening direction with a different gain. After each trial, they input their answer to our questionnaire. Here are the results for noticeability. The x-axis of the graph shows the gain, and the y-axis shows the probability of left response, and the graph shows the fitted curves with a logistic function. The left graph shows conditions of pushing the door, and the right graph shows those of pulling the door. From these results, we calculated the user's detection thresholds and the corresponding redirected angle at each door opening. For example, focusing on the door prop and push condition, the results show that the unnoticeable gain ranges are between 0.74 and 1.73, indicating that the user's orientation can be redirected between 31.1 degrees to the left and 43.2 degrees to the right. This also shows a high space efficiency compared to many previous studies. However, some participants answered incorrectly even though they noticed the manipulation. Thus, further investigation is needed. In addition, comparing the 2 door opening interfaces, We found that the unnoticeable gain ranges were narrower with door prop than controller, showing that door prop was more noticeable than the controller. Here are the results for acceptability. The x-axis of the graph shows the gain, and the y-axis shows the probability of answering the redirection as acceptable, and the graphs show the fitted curves with a Gaussian function. You can see from both graphs that the acceptability generally decreases as the gain departs from 1. Looking at the pushing condition, the left one, we observed the peaks of the fitted curves were biased towards right, indicating that gains larger than 1 give higher acceptability than those smaller than 1. This might be because these conditions contributed to reducing the participants' physical efforts, such as walking distance and hand stroke distance. This is our conclusion and future work. We propose redirected doors, a novel redirection technique focused on door opening. The results show a high space efficiency of redirection, and we derived usage guidelines of our technique, such as controller-based interface is more recommended based on noticeability, and pushing the door under gain larger than 1 is more recommended based on acceptability. Future work will include conducting a more detailed user study and implementing an algorithm to adaptively position the door prop using robots. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And there's Yukai, so he will be available to answer some questions at the end of the session. And if you joined us late, we are having all the questions posted in the Discord channel for this session, and we'll take them all together at the end. So, so please, if you have a question, please post it in the Discord channel here, and I'll read them off later. So, great. Okay, so our third paper, you guys are doing great in terms of time, so nice job. Our third paper today is called PseudoJumpOn, jumping onto steps in virtual reality. And the paper will be presented by Kumpei Ogawa. So please take over.
Hey, hello, I'm Kumpei Ogawa from Tohoku University, Japan. And today I'll be presenting our paper entitled PseudoJumpOn, Jumping Onto Steps in Virtual Reality. This work is also done by Kazuyuki Fujita, Kazuki Takashima, and Yoshifumi Kitamura. Room-scale VR enables us a richer and more attractive virtual reality experience. However, it would be quite difficult to reproduce vertical locomotion because it usually requires horizontal physical floors, and placing physical steps or slopes is impractical because of space efficiency and safety. One common approach to overcome this limitation is to reproduce vertical locomotion with walking movement. These techniques give the sensation of walking up or down in virtual environment by applying viewpoint manipulation or presenting tactile sensation to the user. However, the limitation is that they require horizontal movement or placement of physical objects. Another approach is to use jumping motions. The left one simulates jumping on motions in a low-gravity environment using viewpoint manipulation and a cable-driven system. This method achieves instant vertical locomotion without long horizontal movement, but it requires a large-scale external device for low-gravity simulation. On the other hand, the right one extends the user's jumping motion with a common field setup by only applying viewpoint manipulation, so-called gains. This technique has shown a possibility of imperceptibly manipulating the jumping motion. However, it doesn't use jumping motion as vertical locomotion. Therefore, in our study, we focus on presenting step-up jumping motion as vertical locomotion with a common field setup. In this study, we propose PseudoJumpOn, which transforms a physical jump on the floor into a virtual step-up jumping motion. The core idea is to replicate the physical characteristics of ascending jumps which are the differences in height and duration between ascent and descent. PseudoJumpOn only applies viewpoint manipulation, thus it does not require any additional device or objects except for HMD. PseudoJumpOn is achieved by combining two viewpoint manipulation methods, which are gain manipulation and peak shifting. Gain manipulation applies a larger gain for ascent than descent and creates a difference in height between ascent and descent in VR. For example, in this figure, the ascending gain is 1.5 and the descending gain is approximately 0.7, which is a smaller value than ascending gain. In our implementation, the ascending gain is predetermined and the descending gain is calculated depending on the ascending gain, the height of the jumping target, and the user's jumped height. Peak shifting delays the peak timing of the jump and creates a difference in time between ascent and descent in VR. The degree of shift is determined by the parameter peak shift, PS, calculated by the equation shown here. For example, if PS is set to 0, it means the peak timing in VR is the same as the peak timing in reality. And if PS is set to 1, it means the peak timing in VR is the same as the landing timing in reality. From the figures, you can see that the landing height can be manipulated by only changing peak shift without changing the gain. We conducted a user study to evaluate how the parameters of PseudoJumpOn affect the user's perception during jumping experience. We tested the effect of step height, ascending gain, and peak shift as the independent variables, and a total of 80 combinations were randomly presented to the participants. To measure the user's jumping experience in each condition, we employed our original questionnaires, asking about the reality and unnaturalness of the jump as dependent variables. Let's move on to the results. As for subjective reality, the average scores were more than neutral in all conditions, but the score was slightly lower when the step height was 0.2 meter. As for subjective unnaturalness, the average scores were less than neutral in all conditions. However, we found the main effect on step height, showing that higher steps cause higher unnaturalness. Overall, the participants gave positive scores in terms of both reality and naturalness of the jump, meaning that they are generally tolerant of viewpoint manipulation while jumping, even with certain changes in the gain and the peak shifting conditions. We conducted further analysis to investigate the effect of gain manipulation and peak shifting. We focused on the gain difference, which is defined as the difference between ascending gain and descending gain to represent the naturalness of the jumping trajectory. We conducted a correlation analysis and found that larger gain difference caused higher unnaturalness. Based on this finding, we recommend adjusting ascending gain and peak shift to mitigate gain difference for providing more natural jumping experience. Thus, future work will consider a method for adaptively determining them based on the user's jumped height and the step height. In this work, we propose PseudoJumpOn, a novel real vertical locomotion technique that transforms a physical jump on the floor into a virtual step-up jumping motion. We confirmed the effectiveness of our technique and derived guidelines for a more natural jumping experience. Future work includes evaluating our technique with other factors, implementing descending jump motions, and building an algorithm for adaptively applying viewpoint manipulation. So that's all my presentations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Kumpei. That's great. They're doing some construction next to me, so there might be some noise. I apologize for that. Again, please post your questions in the Discord channel, and we will get to them at the end. I have a couple questions for each of the speakers also, so just in case. Okay, so our next speaker is Takeo Hamada, and he's going to be talking about solitary jogging with a virtual runner using smart glasses.
Can you see my this screen?
Yes.
Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Takeo Hamada from the University of Tokyo. Group exercise is more effective way of getting motivated than exercising alone. The greatest motivation gain occurs with the slightly superior partner. However, for casual joggers, it is difficult to always find such a rare partner. To do exercise with a virtual jogging partner, some applications using large displays or smart glasses have been developed. However, there has been no research on how such a virtual jogging partner affects joggers. In our work, we aim to explore how casual joggers feel and how their behavior changes when jogging with a virtual partner displayed on smart glasses. To determine if joggers' feeling and behavior depend on the virtual runner's appearance, we use three types of the body visibility: a full body, a point light, and a limb-only avatar. The point light and the limb-only avatars were designed as a minimized visual representation of human motion to minimize obstructions in the jogger's field of view based on previous research. As in this video, joggers can always see the virtual partner at the center of their field of view, regardless of their head motion. In our first study, we investigated how joggers feel and how their behavior changes with jogging partner as within subject factor, and three types of avatar visibility as between subject variables. 39 casual joggers were asked to do 3 5-minute jogs, excluding a warm-up phase inside a gymnasium. Participants were randomly assigned to one of 3 groups using each virtual partner body type, respectively. Each of the 3 groups then followed the within subject design of the jogging partner conditions. And the jogging alone condition, they were asked to simply jog for 5 minutes. And the jogging with a human partner condition, they are asked to jog behind the experimenter. And the jogging with the virtual runner condition, they were asked to jog while seeing the virtual partner on their smart glasses. Our results showed no significant difference between each virtual runner's body visibility. On the other hand, the results also showed that the participants rated their enjoyment significantly higher with either human or virtual partners compared to jogging alone. Also, when asked which of the conditions they felt the passage of time was shortest, 90 participants answered when jogging with the human partner, 13 mentioned the virtual partner, and only 4 chose the alone condition. Furthermore, half of participants complained about boredom while jogging alone. These results indicate a higher motivation towards jogging itself, with jogging with a human or a virtual partner. We also measured the participants' chin perception and ability discrepancy with the partner. Our results showed that the human runner was rated higher in terms of chin perception and perceived a greater ability discrepancy compared to a virtual runner. At the same time, the virtual runner induced some level of chin perception with the participants and was perceived as slightly superior to them. 1/3 participants reported that they regard the virtual runner as a companion. These results suggested that the virtual partner can be seen as a jogging partner, similarly to a human partner. We measured the participant cadence coordination to verify whether the virtual partner guides joggers' cadence to 180 steps per minute, which has been reported as an ideal running cadence to avoid injury caused by overstriding. Our results show that the participant's average cadence was closer to the partner's cadence in the human partner condition. In addition, 2/3 participants felt the human partner as the best condition based on their criteria, such as running comfort, whereas 1/3 participants chose the virtual partner. These results suggested that the jogger's cadence coordination led by the virtual partner would be not as strong as the human partner, but the virtual partner would be preferred as a motivator for them to run longer. In our second study, we wanted to explore the difference between each virtual avatar's body visibility with the within subject design. Moreover, participants' feedback when jogging outdoors is necessary for the practical use of our proposed system, and hence the second experiment was conducted in an outdoor setting. The experiment procedure and virtual runner designs were similar to study 1. 12 casual joggers were asked to do 3 5-minute jogs with each of the virtual partners, excluding a warm-up phase. Our results showed that participants' enjoyment was rated higher with the full body runner compared to both point right and the limb-only avatar. In addition, 1/3 of participants reported that full body runner attracted their attention and sometimes prevented them from checking their surroundings, making them feel unsafe. On the other hand, point right and the limb-only runners made them feel that they had better visibility. These results reveal that the participants' experiences were affected by how attractive the virtual runner design was. That is, the level of visual richness may have affected how much attention the participants paid to the avatar. But at the same time, they were also concerned about their safety when jogging with a rich virtual runner design. Our results suggested that joggers can adaptively choose how they view their virtual partner's body visualization in response to environmental information, expanding the possibility of avatar design. Indoors, where the virtual partner was clearly visible, the participant's motivation increased even when body visibility was lowered. On the other hand, when the participants were outdoors during the day, their motivation increased when the body visibility was higher. To sum, we explored how casual joggers feel and how their behavior changed when jogging with the virtual runner displayed on smart glasses. Overall, our results suggest that virtual runner can be seen as a jogging partner and get motivated joggers similar to a human partner. Also, we found that virtual jogging runners should be designed considering balancing joggers' enjoyment and safety by matching body visibility to environmental conditions. Thank you for your attention, and please refer to our paper for more details. We look forward to your comments and questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Takeo. Makes me want to get outside now and run around a little bit, I think. So if you have questions, please post them on the Discord. Our next paper is called Optimal Target Guided Redirected Walking with Post-Score Pre-Computation. And the speaker is Sen-Zhe.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sen-Zhe from Tsinghua University. It's my honor to report our work, Optimal Target Guided Redirected Walking with Post-Score Pre-Computation. Virtual reality brings users an immersive experience in the virtual environment. Since the people's physical location can be captured by the sensors, people can walk freely in the room with VR glasses to explore the virtual space. However, the virtual space is usually huge, but the room space for playing VR is usually limited. So how to enable the user to explore a larger virtual environment within a limited physical space is an important problem. The redirected walking is a technique that imperceptibly fine-tunes the user's travel orientation when she or he is walking, making the user hit obstacles as less as possible in the physical space. Once the user hits an obstacle, the redirected walking controller will pause the VR application and reset the user's orientation. In our work, we proposed a new RDW method that aims to better use the physical space and reduce the number of resets. The key idea is to discretize the possible user positions and orientations by a series of standard poses and propose a transfer path algorithm to travel among the standard poses. Then, by simultaneously considering the reward of the path length and the penalty of the reset, we can rate a score for each standard pose. Finally, we redirect the user to the optimal pose with the best score among all the reachable poses from the user's current pose during walking. We assume that square tiles with side length data are tiled on the ground in the physical space. The corners of the tiles are used as the standard positions. The nearest standard position then represents the user's location. The orientation of a user is also discretized by M angles called standard orientations, and the closest standard orientation presents the user's orientation. A standard pose consists of a standard position and a standard orientation. We stipulate that the user can only work on the standard poses. If the user is currently not on a standard pose, we insensibly steer the user to a standard pose. This stipulation is unseen to the users. However, if the controller is impossible to redirect the user exactly to a specified pose, it is invalid to redirect the user with the pose graph. To this end, we propose a transfer path algorithm to steer the user from the current pose to a specified ending pose, where the curvature of the path point satisfies the curvature gain threshold. Suppose the starting position is A and the ending position is B, and the tangent directions of A and B are alpha and beta. Our goal is to find a smooth path to connect A and B. The path is defined as an isometric point sequence. The distance between any two adjacent path points is a fixed constant that represents the distance traveled in a frame time. And to better use the physical space, we set the curvature of every path point to be equal to the curvature gain threshold R. Our idea is to preferentially satisfy the end tangent direction to equal beta, and then gradually adjust the endpoint to approach B through iterations. To form the initial path, we construct a circle passing through A with the tangent direction at A equal alpha. We then sample points on the circle from A and stop the sampling when a point with tangent beta appears. Then we use the sampled arc as the initial path. The way to reduce the residual gap between the path end to B is to insert S-turns. An S-turn is a point sequence composed of the same number of left turning points and right turning points. As the curvature is fixed to R, the shape of an S-turn can be determined by the number of discrete points on it. Inserting S-turn doesn't change the tangent direction of the path end, but shifts the path end's position. So we can reduce the residual gap by inserting suitable S-turns in iterations. The principle of inserting the S-turn is making the direction of the inserted S-turns displacement as close as possible to the residual gap's direction. Here is a dynamic presentation of the inserting S-turns. The iteration stops when the new residual distance is larger than the current one, and we accept the found path if the final residual distance is smaller than a threshold. We steer the user to work along the found path in physical space and with curvature gains to guarantee him to work to the optimal target. With the transfer path algorithm, we can redirect the user to the specified standard poses every time. We get a score for each standard pose to indicate the safety of the pose. The pose score estimation is based on 3 concerns. The score of a pose is based on the score of the poses it can access. The farther user can go from a pose to another pose, the safer the pose is. We should give a penalty to the reset. So the pose jumping is a Markov decision process and can be solved in a dynamic programming way. We compare our method with a number of state-of-the-art methods in the RDW field. We evaluated the RDW algorithms using 3 typical environment layouts. All layouts are square with side lengths of 10 meters or 20 meters. We test the methods with 100 virtual passes, each containing 100 randomly generated virtual waypoints. We analyze the number of resets and the average virtual distance between resets in 3 environments, and discover that our method outperforms other methods in almost all of the experiments, especially in the difficult layouts with more obstacles and smaller spaces. This is because our method pre-calculates the score of the specified poses and precisely guides the user to the most favorable reachable pose every time. Here is a video to show the redirect working process of our method and the comparison methods. From the video, we can see that by redirecting the user to the most favorable reachable pose in the physical space every time, our method can make a better use of the physical space and has a less number of resets. Thank you.
Thank you, Sen-Zhe. That was great. Very interesting. Again, if people have questions, please post them in the Discord channel. And now we'll have the last paper, which is a journal paper. And this will be presented in video form because the first author couldn't be here to present, but one of his co-authors will be here to answer questions in the question and answer session. So please take it away.
Hi, I'm Chih-An. Today, I'm going to present our work, Free Shoes, providing multi-level non-uniform friction feedback on shoes in VR. Haptic feedback plays an important role in virtual reality interactions since it enhances immersion, realism, and users' VR experience. On the other hand, friction is a common physical effect in our daily lives. However, providing friction feedback on feet in VR is less explored. Therefore, we propose Free Shoes, wearable devices to render versatile friction patterns on feet in VR. To provide friction feedback, previous works use skin stretch or vibration to generate friction illusion, or leverage material switching or braking control mechanism to generate such feedback. However, none of these works investigating providing friction feedback on feet. For devices that provide friction feedback on feet in VR, most of them aim to enhance VR realism by simulating the haptic feedback of stepping on different ground textures. And there do exist a few works that explore friction feedback on feet, but their devices are either grounded or limited to one-time use. Some research tried to solve VR locomotion problems by providing haptic feedback on feet. Although they focus on VR locomotion, the mechanisms of their devices are still worthwhile for consideration. When designing the free shoes, we have tried various ways to deliver friction force feedback, such as material switching and braking control mechanisms. In the latter method, our basic concept is to use wheels with brakes under the shoes to control the resistive force between the shoes and the ground. After several designs, we designed our final prototype, which used braking control mechanism to provide multi-level friction feedback. We adapt the wrong drive mechanism to actuate the braking system. Benefiting from its high gear ratio and self-locking property, it allows us to use smaller and lighter DC motors while providing more precise control than the previous prototypes. Since the brakes can be controlled individually, it is able to provide non-uniform friction feedback on a single foot. We first conducted a magnitude estimation study to observe how users estimate the friction force magnitudes and thoroughly understand users' distinguishability on the 5 friction force levels we defined in the pilot study. In this study, users were given a random friction force level delivered by the free shoes at each trial, and that had to adjust the visual feedback, which is the roughness of the virtual floor in VR, to match their perception. The result shows that all pairs of friction levels are distinguishable to the participants, except for level 1 and level 2 on the right foot. Therefore, we decided to remove level 2 and use the remaining 4 friction force levels to do the following studies. Then, we conducted an exploratory study to understand users' expectations on the friction force of several common ground textures, and how will the users match non-uniform friction patterns to the condition when stepping on one or more textures. We chose 5 commonly mentioned ground textures for the experiment, and 10 more conditions with objects to present scenarios of stepping on multiple textures with one foot. 3 of them present different texture combinations, and 8 of them present objects in different positions. In the study, participants had to adjust each wheel set of free shoes to render a proper friction pattern that matches the current condition. Here is the average result of the adjustment for each condition. For the multiple texture conditions, we found two interesting phenomena. One is that if the participants felt the friction difference between objects and ground textures was too small, they will adjust the friction level to increase the contrast. Another finding is that users will adjust the wheel sets nearby those stepping on an object to make it more prominent, and thus form a gradual level transition configuration. These findings were further used in the later study. Finally, to evaluate our system and observe how multi-level non-uniform friction feedback affects VR experience, we conducted a VR experience study. In this study, we used 3 feedback methods. In the non-uniform friction feedback method, based on the previous findings, we list 3 guidelines to generate non-uniform friction patterns with gradual level transition and contrast enhancement. In this study, participants have to play through 2 VR applications with the mentioned feedback methods. The 2 applications are a VR terrain exploration and a coin collecting game, representing static and dynamic VR applications respectively. The result shows that the proposed uniform and non-uniform friction feedback does improve the experience in VR interaction. In the post-interview, most participants suggest that non-uniform friction feedback can provide realistic and detailed feedback, which is suitable for static applications, while the uniform friction feedback is more obvious, which is suitable for dynamic applications. In conclusion, we propose 3 shoes, a pair of wearable devices that provide multi-level non-uniform friction feedback on feet to enhance VR experiences. We first conducted a magnitude estimation study to observe how users estimate friction magnitudes and obtain the 4 distinguishable friction force levels. Then we performed an exploratory study to understand how users map the multi-level non-uniform patterns to several ground textures. Based on the results, we proposed 3 guidelines for rendering non-uniform friction patterns. Finally, we performed a VR experience study to evaluate the proposed friction force feedback and found that they significantly enhance VR experiences. Thank you for your listening.
Okay, thank you. So that was the last paper. And so now we have some time for questions. And looking at the Discord, that's over here. Let's see, there's a question for Yukai that he answered at the beginning, but let me ask something of the first paper. So Dooyoung, I have a question for you. I didn't see anything on Discord just yet, so I'll ask my questions. Have you thought about moving obstacles? So right now the obstacles are fixed in that you have bookcases and things at the edge. Have you thought about using movable obstacles and what you think that would do to helping redirect people? And yeah, what do you think?
Yes, yeah, of course, I'm thinking about the moving obstacles, and actually we did our future study already, and it's about more about layout of the space, and we figured out that effective object as an obstacle is quite like a distractor. It actually influences the threshold range. So if there's some moving obstacles, and we found that if it's come into our insight and it goes out if it's distracting this way more frequently, so the moving obstacle might work it as well. So I think that could also increase the threshold range that people are less sensitive to be faster in the virtual environment.
I was thinking about maybe a dog or something in the space that could
Mm-hmm.
run in your way and make you have a lot of movement in your head. So it might force you could probably maybe redirect faster.
Yes, that could increase the effective redirect flow.
Okay, great. Don't see any questions. So just in the matter of time, I have more questions, but let me go to the next paper, which is for Yukai. So there's one that I think you answered in the chat. So I'll ask another one. What about providing some more force so the door? It seems like the force provided by the door was fixed, so it was just a natural hinge. If a door was heavier, do you think you could get away with more or less rotation because of the focus on pushing on the door or pulling on the door? Let's say it's a heavy door or an old door. What do you think about that? Changing the haptic feedback or resistance of the door.
Okay. The weight of the door prop.
Yeah. So the resistance that maybe the door is. I have to push really hard.
Yes. If that's the case, if that's the case, the redirection will be more less noticeable because user will pay attention to push the door more. So the attention to the redirection and rotational manipulation will be decreased.
So maybe you can rotate things more in that case.
Yes.
Yeah. That's very interesting work. So it's I think there's lots of interesting things that you could do to explore that more. Okay. Okay. Next is Kumpei. So PseudoJumpOn. A similar question that was raised in the chat, I guess, is around danger or safety of the participants. Did anybody jump and then land strange because they didn't feel correct, or did anybody feel uncomfortable or report being worried that they were going to fall?
So the answer is no. We observed no accidents or injuries during our experiment. And so we think we can use our technique safely enough, at least the conditions we tested in our study. However, we do recognize the danger of our technique. So actually the user jumped height increased, the step height in virtual world increases. So it might lead to an unstable landing. So it should be considered for designing, practical applications with our technique.
What about multiple steps?
Okay, multiple steps. I think it could lead to user more fatigue. So yeah, that's interesting, but the problem is that it get more fatigue, so it might lead to symmeter sickness or something.
Good, thank you. So Takeo, I have a question for you as well. Did you have any audio provided by the virtual partner, or was it just a visual cue? So I can imagine if the virtual partner was like, if the virtual partner just starts to really feel tired or seems like they're getting tired, I wonder how that would affect the actual runner.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Sound of the footsteps and yeah, some sounds. Additional audio cue is better for the joggers' enjoyment. So yeah, additional cues is good, I think. Yeah.
Okay, and if the partner seemed tired or maybe more energetic than the runner, like, do you think that would affect the runner's pace?
Pace?
How fast the runner could run? The virtual partner was tired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, the virtual partner keep running during the while the joggers keep also running, but the joggers stop jogging. He also stopped. So some participants report that I have to jog because he stopped jogging.
I understand. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now for Sen-Zhe. I don't see any in the chat just now. My question for you is, how many S turns? So I noticed in your video, which was very interesting, how many S turns was there some limit to the number of S turns you could put in per distance?
Okay, I see. The number of S turns depends. It's not a fixed number, as it is a optimization process. So if there are a good position to insert S turn to shorten the residual gap, so we will insert the S turn. But the total number of S turn is not a fixed number. So if the final residual gap is smaller than a threshold, then we accept the found path. Another we reject the found path. Yes.
Okay. And for frick shoes, there's a question by Alex Hobson. Quick question about the frick shoes. Can you feel that you are being suspended by wheels on the side of the shoes rather than stepping on firm ground? So do you notice the wheels at all? And Ray,
in fact, in our design, some participants tell they feel like they're wearing boots or clogs or geta, which is kind of flip-flop with elevated flat wooden soles. So it's still, I think it's still a little bit different from the normal shoes we sell with very it's flexible and the height is a bit lower, but it's a little bit light working on some boots with a bit of heels. So it's not really, become an unconventional working gait, I think.
Okay, and the question I had is around slipping. So the wheels were only forward and back, or could you slip sideways as well?
Yeah, we have in our visual we can do omnidirectional wheels, but for now with only like the roller scale, it's only from forward and backward. And yeah, because I think forward and backward is most about the friction when we are working with. We are not usually will feel about on the like the left or rightward about friction. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have any more questions? We're actually just at time, so I think we're perfect. Unless anybody wants to post anything else. Okay, so thanks everybody. This was a very enjoyable session. You all did a great job. And so thank you everybody who attended and for posting your questions. And yeah, please enjoy the rest of the conference. And there's going to be some flash mobs at some point. So if you're in Virbela and you want to go join, they're really a lot of fun. So down on the beach, you can set them up, and there'll definitely be some throughout the conference. So please enjoy the rest of the conference, and thanks again for attending the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.